Welcome back. Welcome back. Monday show. Monday show going from one holiday to the next. Looking forward to it. I know you guys are looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it. Look, I'll address the elephant in the room. The Bears dropped one in Green Bay. We dropped one. Dropped one of the Packers in Green Bay. Yes, Ed, of course I'm going to get out in front of this. But no crash out. No crash out. This is a different Bears team. I think you people in Green Bay know you got away with one. You got away with one. That was in your house. Wait till we see you in Chicago. Wait till we see you in Chicago. All right, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that. It was unfortunate, but we will endure. We have been talking a lot about Pete Hegseth, Admiral Bradley, what happened with those boat strikes. A lot of people are saying things, but I feel like we squeezed a lot out of it for now. Obviously, we'll see what happens. Now, Hakeem Jeffries told us, don't get too excited about an impeachment of Pete Hegseth. Don't get excited about that. You had Rand Paul, Roger Wicker, other Republicans come out, denounce the action, say, let's see what happens in the Armed Service Committee's investigations. That's where we are. House and Senate Armed Service Committees both launching an investigation. We're going to find out what Hegseth ordered exactly and what Mitch Bradley did because of those orders. What he said, what he did immediately after, and were those people even shipwrecked? All of that hopefully will get worked out in this investigation. And it feels bipartisan. It feels super bipartisan. Like, the Republican chairs of these committees are really looking for answers. A lot of the people on the Armed Service Committees are veterans. This means a lot to them. It means a lot to you. Hopefully they'll do a good job, a bipartisan job, and truly dig into what happened here. As far as holding anybody accountable, that might have to wait till we take back the House and the Senate. A combination of one or the other, and of course the executive branch. We'll see what happens when the majorities flip a little bit. If anybody's held accountable, you might have to wait till then. But let's get these investigations over with and see what happens. Okay, and we'll see what happens. It's funny because Hegseth is out here saying, "Oh, we should try Mark Kelly in a military court." Might be you, Pete. Might be you after you get fired at some point. So we'll see what happens there. We're going to let that play out. We're going to focus on some other things today. The Supreme Court, we're going to start with, because the Supreme Court keeps flaring up into our consciousness. Lately, we discussed at length Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the majority-minority districts. And I think I scared you thoroughly when talking about that decision. If they should strike down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, the Supreme Court, if they should strike it down, I mean, potentially 19 districts could flip from blue to red just like that. That is a crisis. Would definitely be downplaying it. I think I described it at one point like we may have a couple generations of Americans who don't remember what a Democratic majority House looked like. Don't remember it. Can't recall it. That's how long it could last, the Republican majority, if this should happen. And it adds a lot of pressure to those like Gavin Newsom and the lawmakers in Virginia and Illinois and New York. What are they going to do? What are they going to do in response to this possible crisis? That's one thing. The tariffs. The Supreme Court has to decide on tariffs. Okay? And it's looking, in the voting rights case, it looks like it might get struck down. A couple things said by Kavanaugh, like, racial decisions in terms of districts, those decisions should sunset because the racial climate in this country is changing. He said a few things that lead you down the path that he might strike it down, and some other conservative justices might as well. As far as the tariffs go, it was a little more divided on the tariffs. It was a little more divided. Coney Barrett's take, I thought, was stark, and I thought it really kind of lent itself to telling us where she might She might fall on that, which was if you give a babysitter, your credit card and say, make sure the kids have fun. And then the babysitter goes and takes a 3-day vacation to Disney, all expenses paid on your credit card. Yeah, they followed your direction, make sure the kids had fun. But did they really do what you wanted them to do? Or did they overstep? And that is what she said in terms of the IEEPA and what Trump has done with powers granted to him in that emergency. So, if Coney Barrett's saying that, and, Roberts had said some things, that might go in our favor, which could be a whole nother type of chaos. And there's other cases. And I said, wait till we get to some of the cases on these firings. Now, this one that is before the judges now is about Rebecca Slaughter from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. She was a Democratic member on the Federal Trade Commission, and she was fired, not for inefficiency or neglect of duty, which is our norm, which has been law established since 1935. She was not fired for neglect of duty or incompetence or inefficiency or any malfeasance to office. She was fired because she did not align with the Trump agenda. That is why she was fired, okay? Now, the court is set to rule by the end of June. So because the Supreme Court has allowed Lisa Cook to stay at her job, she'll keep working on the Fed board, but the FTC is different. Everything else is different from the Fed, and we'll keep highlighting that. Now, initially, when Trump started firing people, he was firing individual heads of agencies. That's no problem. For the Supreme Court, that's a go. That's a green light. They didn't have to think very hard on that one. But it gets dicier when he starts firing members of boards. And the ambiguous language that some of the justices have used on this, it's tough to get a gauge on what they feel is above Trump's unitary power. So far, it's been fairly clear up to this point that the Fed board is where they draw the line. It had been theorized that the justices wouldn't allow Trump to fire members of other very important boards. Possibly they'd make him stop there, but that's not what happened. When Rebecca Slaughter got fired, they let it go through. Said, hey, we'll pick up the case later. And this is that later. We're there. We're later. So they're hearing arguments. We're hearing arguments. And Supreme Court has granted emergency order after emergency order after emergency order in favor of this administration when it comes to firing. Okay? They've just continued to grant them, except Lisa Cook. That's the one they didn't let fly. She went back to work. That's the one. It's all about this unitary authority, plenary authority, as Stephen Miller let it slip. Okay, this is going to go a long way. We are not going to have this argument anymore after the Supreme Court justices get a hold of this Slaughter firing. Again, keep the Fed separate for now. The Fed is separate, but for the rest of these agencies, all the rest of them, they're going to be free game, fair game for Trump to fire anybody. And that is not what Congress intended. It's just not. This is precedent from 1935 that they want to just put it right in the trash can. And it's looking like the justices are on board. It is. It's looking like they're on board. And certain things they have said and done leading up to this let you know kind of where they're leaning. In 2010, Chief Justice Roberts said the president's power generally includes the authority to remove those who assist him in carrying out his duties. Without such power, the president could not be held fully accountable for discharging his own responsibilities. So they're going to say this two ways, what he just said. He said, hey, the voters in this country put the president in power to do a job that he sees needs to be done. How can we hold him accountable for boards of agencies who don't do his bidding. He was voted in with a mandate to do things as he sees fit. And you've got these boards, these independent, politically free boards, not carrying out his will. Or another way to see it is you've got these boards who are protecting the American people from the politicization of the agency that they run. That's what's really happening. And under a Trump presidency, that's absolutely unacceptable. Everything needs to be weaponized. Everything needs to be politicized. Everything and everybody. And he will not stop till that is done. He learned a few lessons from his first term about putting people around him that may even a little bit push back, and about allowing agencies that he could possibly fire the boards of to do things that he doesn't approve of, or stop him from doing things they don't approve of. He learned from the first presidency. Man, I could have done a lot more dirt if it wasn't for these key people like IGs and board governors and agencies, watchdogs. Without them around, the grift is very real. And so that is what he has gone about doing in his second term. That is what he's doing. During Trump's first term, and again, this has been ramping up. So in 2010, Roberts said, hey, he's got a mandate. He's got a mandate. You can't stop him from fulfilling his mandate as president. Not you board governors. And in 2020, in a 5-4 decision, the Consumer Financial Protection Chief Justice, a majority decision, firing Consumer Financial Protection Board members in 5-4 government agencies run by a single director and those led by multiple commissions that do not wield substantial executive power, they can be fired. So they amended it, right? They expanded it in 2020, saying no, not just single directors or agency heads. They specifically included multi-member commissions that do not wield substantial executive power. You do what the president says. It's not your power. It's his. It's his. Quote, in an opinion just this May, because the Constitution vests the executive power in the president, the majority said, he may remove without cause executive officers who exercise that power on his behalf, subject to narrow exceptions recognized by our precedent. And so even in May, a wink to the Fed board. Our precedent. So far, that has been their only exceptional precedent in this matter, not the Fed board. Everybody else, not the Fed board. Now, just to be clear, what the FTC does, supporters of this president, I'd love you to tell me how attacking these particular bureaus and agencies that I'm going to name here as I go through this, you tell me how attacking them, politicizing them helps you. Because in terms of the FTC, they protect consumers, they promote competition, they promote fair practices, they are the ones that go after antitrust, and they educate consumers. MAGA, you ready for that to be politicized? You ready for that to be weaponized, dismantled, subverted? You have a problem with these things? You think these things need to change? You think when Trump weaponizes the FTC, you're going to be more educated and safer? I can't even say it. Yeah, because he's the safe education president. That's his deal, right? Safe education. And by the way, as far as the Consumer Financial Protection head, used to be Mick Mulvaney. Right? That was a temporary hold. And then Kathy Kraninger came in, and she was the head of it. After that, it was Rohit Chopra under Biden. And guess who it is now? The head of the Consumer Financial Protection Agency. Guess who runs that now? That's right, Russ Vought, Mr. Project 2025. But it's okay, because Russ Vought has your best interests in mind, right? Russ Vought put himself in this position to do right by you. Just keep dismantling everything that protects Americans and watch your base smile. It's crazy. It really is through the looking glass how anybody can support these things. But here we are. Here we are. Now, the three liberal justices have obviously pushed back all the way. Okay? They've obviously pushed back all the way. To not much avail. Elena Kagan wrote, the majority, the conservatives, they're impatient to decide the fate of the 1935 precedent. They said, you're just so fired up to get rid of Humphrey's executor v. the United States. And we'll get to Humphrey's executor because I want you to know what we're talking about here. This precedent, it's important where it started and where we are. This has been precedent since 1935, 90 years. Okay? She wrote, the majority justices seem determined to extinguish the agency's bipartisanship and independence. As far as the FTC goes, okay, it's led by 5 people. It's led by 5 people. They are confirmed by the Senate, and they serve long terms. Trump went right at it. He went right after it, right off the top.
Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts, no fluff.
So let's just be clear how this happened, okay? One of Trump's first priorities when he got in office in the second term was to go after the FTC. The people protecting you, educating you, going after monopolies, he had to attack it. Okay, now in terms of Ms. Slaughter, she was nominated by Trump in 2018. That's right. Nominated by Trump in 2018, okay? Then she was renominated by Joe Biden in 2023 and confirmed unanimously in the Senate right after that renomination in 2023. Confirmed unanimously. Great fit for the job. In March, and by the way, her term was to run to 2029. And in March, Trump said her service was inconsistent with my administration's priorities and fired her. But he didn't just fire her. You see, there's 5 members on this board. He didn't just fire her. He fired Alvaro Bedoya. Alvaro Bedoya. Fired him too. Now, he initially challenged his firing, but then he decided to walk away. He resigned. He was going to challenge it. He was going to sue, just like Ms. Slaughter sued immediately. But he decided to walk away. Didn't want any of this beef. Didn't want the smoke. Didn't want to be part of the public exposure. Just walked away. When those 2 were fired, that left 3 Republicans to run the FTC. All by themselves because those 2 positions haven't been filled yet. How about that? Weaponized. Done. Boom. Done. Since March, 3 Republicans have had run of the entire FTC. 3 sycophants. 3 members who have their marching orders that are consistent with his administrative goals and priorities. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, a lower court judge said, nope, this is unconstitutional. Humphrey's executor v. the United States. Then a district court judge said, nope, this is unconstitutional. Humphrey's executor v. the United States. And now the Supreme Court is getting ready to say, no, it's plenty constitutional because the president has, unitary authority. We can't allow him to be pressured or pushed off his administration goals by a board that does not have executive power. It reflects on him. You'll either keep him from fulfilling promises that the American people voted him in to fulfill, or you're going to tarnish, taint, disfigure this president's administration and his legacy going forward if you continue to roadblock him. Can't do it. Unitary authority. Now, John D. Sauer, he is the Solicitor General. He told the justices that those tenure protections are unconstitutional because they infringe on the president's power to run the executive branch. The heads of government agencies are essentially the president's alter ego, and his ability to oust regulators is an indispensable tool of control. Well, there you go. When you put it like that, well, that sounds very Trump-like. Another tool of control. That's exactly right, John Sauer. Said the quiet part out loud. He said the FTC regulates matters ranging from credit cards to horse racing and added that Congress cannot empower unelected agency heads to wield executive power walled off from presidential control and electoral accountability. There it is. And what do you mean unelected? Yeah, they weren't elected. They were chosen by your president and then confirmed by the Senate. You act like any jerk off the street just came in to lead the FTC and now he's all anti-Trump. Like, what? This is a Trump appointee. This is a Trump nomination that was unanimously confirmed by the Senate. Okay? There are impediments to any jerk off the street becoming the head of the FTC. And she passed those impediments because she was qualified. This guy. He said that if the 1935 Humphrey executor of the United States, he said if the 1935 precedent is not already a dead letter, this court should overrule it. Just overrule it. Just do away with Humphrey's executor of the United States. Just do away with it, right? Well, what about Lisa Cook? You'd like to throw the baby away with the bathwater, wouldn't you? You'd like to open that up with this little argument here. That was pretty broad. Just get rid of it. That was pretty broad. Pretty broad. Now, Miss Slaughter's legal team is led by Amit Agarwal. Amit Agarwal. He's a former law clerk to Sam Alito. He urged the court not to transfer the president vast new powers that Congress and prior presidents working together chose not to vest in the president alone. Her lawyers noted that in the years since the court first held that Congress could adopt job protections for independent agency chiefs, 15 presidents of both parties worked within that system and accepted that the FTC commissioners could not be removed without good cause. Congress has also created dozens of new independent agencies that have wide-ranging responsibilities. Overruling that precedent decades later would profoundly destabilize institutions that are now inextricably intertwined with the fabric of American governance. That's right. That's exactly right. It also keeps him from this massive deregulatory agenda he's on. Okay, for obvious reasons, at the detriment of you. Red and blue and independent, everybody gets hurt by the dismantling of the FTC and some of these other agencies we're going to mention real quick. Obviously, it helps businesses get rid of regulation, help businesses, facilitate crime, facilitate malfeasance, facilitate Americans getting taken advantage of. That is what he is doing, weaponizing these agencies, just so we're clear. He is advancing his political aims, and he is going all out on the retribution. He will find a way to get his retribution through any and every single agency. Everyone. And the FTC is no different. I can't wait. We're going to get to the retribution portion of what this man is doing. We're going to get there, okay? The FTC, the NLRB, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission he's dismantled, Surface Transportation Board, Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board. Are these things you really want weaponized, MAGA? Really? Because he's going to look out for you. He's going to check the voting roll and find out who needs to be, who needs retribution enacted upon them and who doesn't, right? When it comes to consumer protection and privacy and civil liberties, right? He's not going to infringe on your privacy or your civil liberties, right? Just the filthy Democrats and liberals, right? Those are the only rights he's going to trample. Are you serious? It's the same old story. If he can focus on making you, MAGA, hate the other liberals and Democrats, then you're not focusing on the real enemies, him and his billionaire buddies.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Brett breaks things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
all these agencies I named. All these agencies I named, I didn't name the Fed yet. Not yet. And again, just so we're clear, they have signaled that the Fed might be special. Quote, the Fed may be entitled to more independence than the other federal boards. Keep in mind, however, his firing of Lisa Cook on the Fed board, that's not as arbitrary from their side. What they're saying is, well, this one isn't like, this one isn't like, the firing off the FTC or some, the BLS or the, NLBR. It's not like those firings. This one's for cause. Don't forget, they're saying Lisa Cook is for cause. They're saying she committed mortgage fraud. And they're saying she lied about it in her ethics disclosure. While becoming a Fed governor, she lied about it. She lied about it in an ethics disclosure, and we can't have a criminal sitting on the board, is what he's saying. So this one isn't just, not fulfilling the, priorities of the Trump agenda. This is, hey, she's a criminal, and she lied about being a criminal when she got the job, so she should be out. Keep that in mind. They're going to have to decide on that one possibly separately. I don't see them making a decision on Lisa Cook tied into this one. I think they're nice and clean, going to sweep his power across all of these agencies and multi-member board agencies, except the Fed. Okay? Keep that in mind. But these other boards, all about his agenda now. All about his agenda. When he first got in office, another board that he dismantled was the CPB, right? The Corporation for Public Broadcast, the independent body, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the independent body that funds PBS and NPR. Remember this fight? We had this fight. Well, as you know, PBS and NPR, that's nothing but radicalized left-wing liberals who hate Trump. They hate Trump over there at PBS, and they hate Trump over there at NPR. They hate him. Those are multiple board members. Trump dismissed 3 Democratic board members this spring. Just the Democrats. They had to go. At the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the CPSC, the agency, in April. Okay, so this Consumer Product Safety Commission in April, it proposed all of these regulations on lithium-ion batteries for e-bikes. Okay, this is part of their job. Your safety. This is what they do. And so in April, they said these ion batteries, they're a danger. The way they're currently made is dangerous for people. So we have to enact a bunch of regulations, okay? Major safety regulations on this product. Well, that didn't fit with Trump's obligations to big business and billionaires and huge corporations. You see this deregulation campaign. This is what it looks like. What did he do? He fired 3 Democrats off that board that supported the regulation, left 2 Republican members on it, and after the Democrats were fired, those Republican members dismissed the whole proposal, threw it in the trash can. As soon as the 3 Democrats were gone, threw it in the trash can. Go blow up e-bikes with your ion batteries. Whatever the danger was, I didn't really get into what the danger with these batteries were, but whatever it is, it's okay. Go get it. Go get some. Go hurt people. Make your money. These pesky regulations. More retribution. The FTC specifically. Once Trump fired Rebecca Slaughter and the other Democrat, the agency immediately launched an investigation into the liberal nonprofit Media Matters. That's right, immediately launched an investigation. This is why it matters. Among other reasons, his retribution campaign. His tendrils are in every single agency. Retribution. Vindictiveness. They started doing probing allegations of transgender patient transition. They started probing false allegations that some nurses were coming to them with saying, "Oh, these hospitals are forcing me into these transgender surgeries, forcing me to help. It's against my sensibilities." False accusations, dozens of them. Well, the new look FTC couldn't wait to launch a bunch of investigations into that as well. Weaponization. Every single time. Now, real quick, the precedent at stake here is Humphrey's executor v. the United States. Okay? Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the new president. William E. Humphrey, he was on the FTC at the time. Okay? And Roosevelt had a sweeping plan to pull them out of the Depression, right? Sweeping plan. Great Depression just happened. And so Roosevelt wanted to go after some big businesses. He wanted to break up some of the corporations, some of the power structures, bring regulation, bring accountability to big business, bring prices down. He wanted to do a lot of things. Well, Mr. Humphrey, and I didn't, it's funny because we keep saying Humphrey's executor v. the United States in like a positive light because it set positive precedent, but it doesn't mean that Mr. Humphrey himself was a positive force for good at the FTC at his time there, okay? That the two things are mutually exclusive. You see, Mr. Humphrey, he was in the pocket of big businesses. And so when FDR got there, he wanted to launch a bunch of investigations against mattress companies, shoe companies, soap companies, companies that made cash registers. Okay, all sorts of companies he wanted to go after. He wanted to break some up. He wanted to impose regulations. He wanted to help the American people and help the economy in this way. This was one of the ways. And Humphreys immediately dismissed all of these investigations. Dismissed them all. Protected the businesses. Publicly stridently opposed all of FDR's New Deal proposals. He was an impediment to FDR's mandate, shall we say. Okay? And Humphreys wrote at the time that it was unthinkable to him that Congress would want leaders of independent agencies to be in a position where their terms of office would be subject to the caprice of the man who happens, by chance of politics, to occupy the White House. You see, they went back and forth. Humphreys heard that FDR was going to ask for his resignation. Humphreys pushed back on that very publicly, said he's not going to give it. How dare you try to flush my career by making me resign? My career will be over. My business contacts will be over. You can't do this. Then FDR just fired him. Okay, he just fired him. So Humphreys battled it in court. At the time, he was also very ill. On Valentine's Day, while they were arguing this, he died in his home in Washington, sudden cerebral hemorrhage. He died. And that's why it's called Humphrey's executor v. the United States, because then Humphrey's executor then picked up the legal fight. The Supreme Court heard arguments on May 1st, 1935. A unanimous court sided with Humphrey's estate on May 27th. And that was known as Black Monday. Okay, Black Monday, because the court issued a string of decisions that struck down a ton of New Deal programs and initiatives, okay? And it was a bad day for FDR. But looking back, it's kind of a good day for democracy and the rule of law and the protection of people's jobs and the protection of these agencies and their independence, okay? It was an important decision, maybe not for the right reasons, right? It protected a bad guy, quite frankly. Protected a bad guy. But going forward, political landscapes change, and look how decisions like this can keep us from total chaos, or had kept us from total chaos. When we started talking about these Supreme Court cases that they're going to hear, I told you this is going to reshape what our government looks like. It's going to reshape it in major ways. And it's going to reshape what the president can and can't do. And this one is going kind of like everybody said it would go. This one, the Rebecca Slaughter case. She will, you want your prediction? It's not a tough one. She will remain fired. She will not get reimbursement. She will not get her position back. She will not get reimbursement. And after this, you will see the wanton, blatant weaponization pick up hyperspeed. It will go into sixth gear. Everybody will now have a target. Obviously, he was doing what he wanted with singular heads of agencies. And now boards, they're going to be done. It's going to be all Republican boards, at least while there's a Republican Senate, right? Trump will nominate somebody. The sycophants in the Senate will, confirm their nomination. We'll probably see fights, confirmation hearings where it gets ugly between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats will point out, look what he's doing. Look what he's doing to our most hollowed agencies, our most important safeguards for the American public. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. This is crazy. This can't happen. And they'll rail and they'll vote against it and they'll get outvoted. And one by one, all of these sycophantic Republicans will hit the boards of these agencies and they will absolutely flat out do Trump's bidding. How's that working out for you, Bill Polt? How's that working out for you, Pam Bondi? How's that working out for you, Pete Hegseth? We haven't heard much from you, Tulsi Gabbard. We haven't heard much from Tulsi Gabbard since she came out and said, oh, by the way, the president's assessment of what our bombs did in Iran, it may not be so accurate. And Iran will probably be able to pick up their nuclear capabilities in the near future. Remember that? And then Trump stood on a plane saying she doesn't know what she's talking about, and we haven't heard her talk about anything since. Very quiet out of Tulsi Gabbard. She may have ducked the guillotine, but others will not. He's going to implant these sycophants, these radicals. They're going to do his bidding. It's going to land with a thud with the American public. And if any of it makes him look bad personally, they get fired. They get fired. How'd that go for you, E.J. Antony? McIntarver over at the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, she simply does her job. Well, that's not allowed here in the Trump administration. You got to go. Implants E.J. Antony, right? His new guy, his hotshot. Most intelligent guy we've ever had come through here. He makes the crucial mistake of doing his job properly, and you're gone. What do you think the next head of the BLS will do? Do you think he's going to go and get more professionals who are going to do their job? Or is he going to go more and more and more sycophantic until we don't know which way's up and we can't trust any numbers coming out of this administration? And that's just one. Pam, you have screwed up these indictments so royally, so thoroughly. Todd Blanche, you went down and you met with Ghislaine Maxwell, and then she gets a cushy ranch camp. We're talking about somebody who facilitated human sex trafficking as cushy as possible. Nobody's ever had it better at any federal prison ever than Ghislaine Maxwell. That was your doing, Todd Blanche. You think that went well in the American public's eye? All of these people are doing what Trump tells them to do. And then if it doesn't go well on a public optics level, you're gone. Your career's done. Hope you didn't work too hard there, Pam. So we're going to see this on a mass scale. They're going to put it in sixth gear. We're going to see more and more and more sycophants go to these agency heads, do his bidding, send our lives spiraling into chaos. And when we don't like it, he'll fire them. And he'll do it over and over and over. Supreme Court is going to help Trump reshape the executive branch. It hasn't been 100% capitulation across the board, but it's been enough of a percentage of capitulation to completely change what it is to be the president of the United States. And once again, I hate to be doom and gloom, but do you think Mr. Trump and his allies, Russ Vought, Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, do you think these people would do this much, put this much effort in, go through this much effort to reshape our government, to put all the power into one person, for that one person to walk away from that power in 3 years, or because he's too old? Are you crazy?
You're back with Brett Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
Okay, now something happened, something came out that doesn't get a lot of media attention, not a ton, but man, like everything else, nothing can be normal under Trump. I'm talking right now about the security doctrine, the national security doctrine. We do it every year. It kind of outlines our position and our goals globally, right? It's a 30-page document annually released. And this year's is a doozy. Of course, he has to politicize and weaponize everything, including our security doctrine. And it focuses on something that we've seen, progress throughout Trump's tenure in power, which is he doesn't really like the Europeans much. Past security doctrines have really focused on our economic and military, partnership with Europe, even through the formation of the European Union. Okay, it focuses on, China and Russia being our main competitors globally, focuses on human rights abuses in the Middle East and other countries, focuses on, American policy in terms of Latin America, talks about safety, economic stability. These are the things it used to focus on. Not this time. This time it focuses on the EU are freeloaders. The EU is weak. And the EU is stifling right-wing ideology and parties and countries that may not want to be a part of the EU. Your time has come. Your time has come. I talked about this administration being like a virus infecting everything. I did it months ago. And the antibodies to that virus are Letitia James. Right? The Letitia Jameses of the world, the judges and the 3 core panels that strike down his unconstitutional policies, U.S. attorneys that do their job or walk away when asked to subvert their job. That's the antibodies. Well, that virus is spreading. It is spreading. I told you about, Trumpism for sale globally. You want to win an election in your podunk little third-rate country? You want to be more Trump-like? That's good, because if you become more Trump-like, we'll be more favorable to you. And we will lend our services. Former Trump partners, business partners, officials, former Trump officials from his administration, anybody who is well-versed in Trumpism is available to be purchased for a price and teach you the art of Trumpism in your country, win your election. When you do, you come to us with your hat in hand. This virus is spreading. It is spreading. And now it is spreading very noticeably to the EU. And it is laid out in our new security doctrine. They say EU needs to take prime responsibility for their own defense, indicating the United States should no longer guarantee their security. It accuses the EU of stifling political liberty. How ironic is that? Warned that some NATO members risk becoming majority non-European, and said the U.S. should align with patriotic European parties. Far right, Trump-like parties. He's saying, hey, NATO, you guys meant it to be, North Atlantic, right? Like, they're letting everybody in. It no longer represents Europe anymore. You're becoming a minority. Most of the countries aren't even in Europe anymore. Does it even represent your goals? And by the way, I, as Trump, President of the United States, I might not honor any of my, defensive pacts or provide you with weaponry or ammunition. I may not. I may not be favorable to your government if you don't push it back against all of the EU regulation. right? And these immigration policies. It's ruining your country. He wants to divide Europe. He wants to divide it up. He wants to divide it up. And we used to talk about Russia a lot in our security doctrine. We still do, but a little different now. A little different now. You see, a lot of experts are saying that this doctrine really just echoes Russian talking points and propaganda. It's almost as if somebody at the Kremlin helped them write it. Helped them write it. And this comes at a time when some of the rhetoric coming out of Putin and his government is, we may be ready for war with Europe. If they keep overstepping the boundaries here in Ukraine, keep providing advanced cutting-edge technology to shoot down our jets and attack our military installations, and they keep saying they want to post troops up in Ukraine, keep saying that they might want to get Ukraine in NATO, they keep doing these things, well, Russia might be ready to go to war. Such a sentiment in the past would clearly be rebuked in our security doctrine. Not this time. Not this time. And Europeans have seen this writing on the wall. If it wasn't clear before the Alaska visit, it was certainly clear after that whose side Trump is on. When he comes out of that meeting with no ceasefire agreement at all, talking about Ukraine better be ready to redraw its borders, they started reading the writing on the wall. And they have in recent years tried to wean themselves off of American military might by increasing their own defense spending, right? They have introduced expanded military service. Germany just recently passed legislation to increase its military spending by 50%. And the European Union itself, the EU itself, has a brand new position, the Commissioner for Defense. But the problem is, see, all these countries are doing these things kind of by themselves. There is a lack of military integration with the EU. You see, I talk about Germany expanding its military budget and other countries expanding its military, but there's no EU military, not EU, not like NATO. That's a problem, because the reality is, without that integration, without that concerted effort, all hands on deck in the defense of the EU, they rely on U.S. for key capabilities, intelligence gathering, stuff like that, ammunition, like I said. They're reliant on the United States for all of these things. Ukraine is reliant on the United States for its defense. Everybody says it. Everybody knows it. And if the crap should hit the fan with Russia and EU, they will be largely dependent on us then. So they're trying to get out in front of it. But at the same time, they are still running that same old playbook of kiss Trump's ass. And this is a huge slap in the face. All the EU leaders see it for what it is. All of them are worried about it, but what do they say? Kaja Kallas, the European Union's top diplomat, said, the U.S. is still our biggest ally. That's their official statement. The U.S. is still our biggest ally. Okay? The point of this is for Trump to destabilize the EU. Why? Because the EU has stiff regulations on Americanism and their businesses and their corporations coming in. What they would say is colonizing. If the EU continues with regulation against big businesses from the United States, then it's tougher for Trump's billionaire buddies and CEOs to eat. It puts a cap on how much money they can make over there, how much expansion is afforded to them over there. Trump can't have that. So at the same time, he attacks the EU and tries to appeal to any countries that may feel disenfranchised by the EU at the moment. He's saying, hey, you don't have to be part of that. You don't have to be part of that. You can break off and come talk to us. Let us do business in your country. This isn't your only option. And as that succeeds, one by one, country after country goes far right wing. because those are the only governments that Trump will work with. That's how he meddles in your elections. That's how he interferes in the elections like he did in Honduras. The left-leaning administration barred all of the ZETs, or the zones of economic control, from guys, like Mark Andreessen and Peter Thiel, right? All their venture, all their investment in Honduras, it got cut off with the left-wing government. Trump and his allies and his cronies want right-wingers in charge in Honduras to renew those deals. And he did anything he could to help them stay in power or get back in power by endorsing the right-wing candidate, telling Hondurans we won't be able to work with a left-wing government, and then releasing their former drug cartel leading, human trafficking president, Hernandez, releasing him, pardoning him on a 45-year sentence, and releasing him wild into Honduras to affect the vote. That's how he does it. That's how he meddles. And when it's all said and done, you've got an oppressive government in place that is friendly to a Trump regime. And we're back in business. One Russian scholar, Timothy D. Snyder, said, "It's striking because that is very similar language to which you'll find in the analogous Russian national security document." He's talking about our national security document. It mirrors the Russian national security document, just like that, all of a sudden. He suggests that good foreign policy was about balancing between great powers rather than upholding the rule of law. The U.S. national security document is now tilting in the basic ideology direction of the Russian one. The paper sounded similar to flat-out Russian propaganda, assertions that a majority of Europeans wanted the war in Ukraine to end no matter what, and that it was continued by out-of-touch elites. Saying, Trump recognizes that all European people want the war in Ukraine to end, even if Ukraine has to give up its sovereignty or territory. And it's just these left-wing radical leaders, these elites that run the countries, they want the war to continue. No, they want Ukraine to be Ukraine when it's all over. And they want security assurances. They want deals on Ukraine's security going forward and their own. And they don't want Russia telling them who should be in and out of NATO. That's what these elites want. They want an end to the war just as much as anybody else. And of course, there are certain sympathetic right-wing factions all across Europe that will jump on this train. They've been waiting for this moment. Like Herman Tertsch, a member of the European Parliament with Spain's far-right Vox party. He said, hey, all the things in this security, in the security policy and the doctrine, all of these things, they're our message. They're my message. We're so happy to hear this. He said, in previous U.S. administrations, we lived in fear. We were very afraid. And now under Trump and this message, it's a new era. It's a new era. Of course, there's going to be some who are going to be all about Trumpism. Okay? This new doctrine, it's pro-Russia. Okay? We used to, in our security doctrines, we used to rail against China and Russia. As far as China goes, super soft on China. A lot of the language that Joe Biden used to use in terms of China are gone. Gone. Joe Biden used to say, we are ardently, completely against the seizure of Taiwan. This new document said, we will not go along and we will deny personally the seizure of Taiwan through diplomatic means. If it happens, it happens. And we'll come out and say we don't want it to happen, China, but if it happens, it happens. The doctrine talks specifically, okay? It says the continent faces civilizational erasure. Listen to this. This is what it's all about. It says the continent faces civilizational erasure through immigration, that could render it unrecognizable in 2 decades, as well as turning several North Atlantic Treaty Organization allies into majority non-European countries. It concludes the region could grow too weak and to be reliable as allies. Reliable as allies. It also talks about weakening cultural norms of other countries. It talks about weakening its stance on the Middle East because we don't want to interfere with cultural traditions. Well, who are we to stand in the way of weakening cultural traditions? Like Duterte, when he would just kill any drug dealers on the spot, extrajudiciously, just kill them on the spot. Well, they have a long history of doing that in the Philippines. They've been doing that for years. So who are we to stop Duterte from just killing drug dealers on the spot with no trial, no seizure, no arrest? Who are we? Talks about softening its stance, the United States' stance on monarchies in the Middle East. Because who are we to stand in the way of traditions in Saudi Arabia like beheading women for showing too much skin or enticing their neighbor to rape them? Who are we to stand in the way of that tradition? It's a new look. It's a new era. It's very simple. If Trump can peel nations off the EU and affect their elections, then he's open for business. He will get a right wing, and here we don't like to call them dictators, but that's what they turn out to be when it happens in Europe. When far-right radical parties take over, rights start to disappear, minorities start to disappear. Culturalism, integration starts to disappear. The rule of law, the separation of military and police, sham trials, the silencing of political adversaries and media. That's what it looks like. Trump's okay with that. That excites Trump. Break off from the EU. They don't represent what's really important to you. Their immigration policies and all their regulation, it stands in the way of your country being great. Come over to the right wing and come with your hat in hand.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks things will be back Monday to break it all down.